first off, I just want to say a huge thank you to Krista for inviting me to be here tonight and share a little bit of my story with you guys. From the moment I met her, everything about Hopeful Pastures resonated with me. It really just spoke to my heart, and I have prayed for their success more than once. I am with Star 93.3 as well, which is a completely separate thing from what I'm doing here tonight, but I also help to make it possible for Star 93.3 to be here because I want to give Hopeful Pastors as much of a platform as I possibly can to get the word out, because it is so vitally important for people to know about this organization. So just to give you a little bit of my story, I was raised in foster care. I was born out of violence. My father abused my mother when she was 8 months pregnant to the point where she went into premature labor. I was not due until December, late December. I was born on November the 12th. So yes, I just had a birthday yesterday. Thank you. So my story literally began through violence. And unfortunately, from there, it didn't get much better. My father was sent to prison when I was 2 years old for armed robbery. And my mother, who had 4 of us by the time she was 21, kind of lost her mind and ended up being strung out on drugs and decided that she just didn't want to do this mother thing anymore, so she walked away. And she left all of us abandoned in the house. And that was when I was 3. And from there, we ended up in the foster care system, and that is where I remained until I was 18 years old. And during that time, especially in my young life, unfortunately, I was a victim of every form of abuse you can pretty much think of. Sexual, emotional, physical, verbal. Unfortunately, my story is not unique because it's the story of millions of children that end up in the foster system every day. But unfortunately, it's one of those things that you can either see yourself as a victim and buy into the victimhood mentality and let that dictate who you are and what your life becomes, or you can decide, like I did from an early age, that I will not allow this circumstance that I have absolutely no control over to define me and to make me into the victim that God never intended for me to be. So that is the way, from the smallest childhood memories that I have, that I saw myself. I am not a victim. I am an overcomer. I've always known it. God has always had his hand on me. And because of that, it dictated the way that I lived my life and the choices that I made. Unfortunately, that was not the case with my siblings. Both of my brothers ended up, well, my brothers and my sister all ended up blaming everything that happened to us as children on every terrible, poor excuse that they ever made in their adult lives. They used it as an excuse to just live badly. So both of my brothers wound up in prison, wound up on drugs. My sister wound up strung out on drugs and lived her entire adult life in one form of addiction or another until she finally succumbed to a drug overdose in 2019 and died. So again, it's a matter of choosing to be a victim or choosing to be an overcomer by the grace of God. Fast forward many, many years into my adult life, and I can tell you that I have suffered a lot. I have had more loss in my life than most people, unfortunately, have to deal with. I've lost pretty much every member of my family, including all of my siblings, including my parents, both my natural and foster parents. And 3 years ago, on December the 12th, I lost my husband. I can tell you that I am no stranger to pain, but I can also tell you that God has been with me and had his hand on me all of my life. He has directed every single step that I have taken, whether I knew it or not. I have never allowed myself to be anything less than an overcomer, because I knew it's in my DNA, because I knew if I allowed myself to sink to the depths of despair, I would never come out. God has more in store for us than that. And that's one of the reasons why Hopeful Pastures resonates so deeply with me. If there had been a program like this when I was a child, it would have made all the difference in the world. I have always been an animal lover. I have always been an animal rescuer. My animals can speak to that. But it's because animals have a natural healing factor built into them by God's design. And because of that, it's something that I, as I said, I resonate deeply with Hopeful Pastures. So if I have two things that I can leave you with, the first of them would be, for all of the young people in your lives, all of the children that you have an impact on, do not ever let these children believe that they are victims. No matter what they've been through, what they've had to endure, you encourage these children that they are, by the grace of God, overcomers. And that no matter what happens in their lives, they can overcome the circumstances, because God will always be with them to help them to do that. So always encourage your children that they are overcomers. They are not victims. Don't let them buy into the victim mentality. And the other thing I would like to leave you with is, we live in a society that is absolutely overrun by technology and by all of the things that unfortunately capture our attention 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what I would say to you is, do not allow technology to take away your time with your children, because they will never forget that. But they will always remember every single moment of time that you shared with them, and you made them feel seen, and you made them feel heard, and you made them feel loved and appreciated. Make sure you put your devices down and you look your children in the eye and you spend one-on-one time with them, and you make them feel seen, heard, and loved. Thank you.